this was on the heels of the 6 months of the Amazon buying blackout, where like they slashed their budgets to the bone from April to October. So like that's when publishers are going to be hurting because that's their actual biggest customer for just about everybody in the survey. Psychologically, you're not just looking at the sliver of what happened in October. You're like feeling the pain of 6 months of like, where are my sales? Who can, and you know, and it's the, and this is the thing that kills me every time is like, nobody wants to be like Amazon, my biggest customer. Let me talk shit about them. They go back and they're like, who's a vulnerable, prone entity?
I love this. So you're saying Amazon killed JFK and blamed the libraries?
Once again, you heard it here first, folks.
Hi, I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 28 years.
I'm Elly Blue, the Vice President of Microcosm. We started this podcast to share what we've learned with newer publishers, so you can learn from our mistakes. Or maybe you just want to learn about the publishing industry.
This week, we welcome back return guest, LeCharles Gonzalez, of many expertises, but specifically today to address what is going on with this like multi-pronged onslaught against libraries.
Like the big five are mad about the state ebook bills, so they're sort of marshaling their forces to like get everyone on the same page of being like library ebooks are ruining the industry or something.
The ugly anti-library stuff is always the AAP. When it's the, hey, libraries are important, individual publishers step in. So there's a historic, the AAP is a well-funded political advocacy organization in the way ALA wants to be, but is not nearly as well-funded and doesn't have the bandwidth to compete at that level. The timing is convenient as these bills, because a couple of the state bills have clauses that they don't go into effect. I think one of them is until one other state, one is like 10 states and one is 20 states. So even these states' bills are being careful about, hey, we're not going to overstep because a single state's not going to have much power. But they've written into them, hey, when 10 states pass similar legislation, we're going to move this forward. So the momentum is building. And so I think this is hey, this is gathering steam. We got to really start tamping down on this. And some of this is misguided. So you notice a lot of this is not like public, easily accessible statements.
Yeah.
One of them they only sent out to the press and didn't post anywhere publicly. Patterson is in a paywalled local newspaper op-ed. So it's very strategically done to influence the right people while avoiding bringing too much of a spotlight to themselves and doing the Streisand effect. I think ultimately, Authors Guild probably reached too far with this survey because that was the very public thing that they pushed that now makes it easier to connect the dots. It's like, hey, what's going on here?
We built this software from scratch to solve our own problems starting in 2001.
It's not only the reason for our survival, but the reason we've been a Publishers Weekly fastest growing publisher 3 years in a row.
Now we want to share it with you.
Join Working Lit and get back the agency to understand your publishing business, market and sell your books, and painlessly pay royalties.
Working Lit, doing the math for publishers.
Visit workinglit.com to give it a try for free.
So here's another factor. And this is definitely a bit of a stretch. In that same time, Baker and Taylor going under, primary vendor of physical books to libraries.
Right then.
Yep.
A lot of libraries shifted out of necessity some of that buying to, well, hey, we can't get the print books. Let's get more of the eBooks to meet demand. And that just constant trajectory. Like the one thing that has not changed in the market that's double-digit growth is ebook library lending. Has continued to grow just on Overdrive's numbers alone, because they are I think there's still 90% plus of the US public library market for ebooks, and growing on the K-12 side as well. Like, people don't talk about Overdrive on the K-12 side. They're a big player on that side as well, where a lot of Big Five ebooks are also hitting school libraries in that case. So yeah, no, I think, the AAP is if you look at it from a neutral perspective, the AAP is doing their job. They are protecting their constituents from the perceived threats to their business. The problem is libraries don't need to be considered a threat. And the threats that are out there, to your point, Joe, are maybe too big for them to fight. So they're picking other battles that they think they can win. But also, a lot of this goes down to, and this is where I kind of get lost. There's the copyright aspect that publishers have beef with libraries that are not specifically about ebooks. But my understanding is, that is such a fraught situation that it influences every other library reaction in terms of AAP activities. Man. So it's messy.
And yeah, that's a good point too. I hadn't really thought about the Baker timeline there, because I can tell you from experience that, we had, or I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you this or not, but here we are. We had to sign a statement from the Fed every 3 or 6 months that Baker and Taylor was less than a year behind in paying their bills, which tells me that they are further behind than that for most of their vendors and suppliers. And I can tell you lots of people had them on credit hold. So like the supply is going to dry up, which is just like, so, and that was, that went back, I would say all the way back to like 2020 where it started to unravel.
Yep.
So I would suspect you're pretty on the money with that is actually like the instigator.
So here's the interesting part, that the Authors Guild, I feel like, is the first time somebody publicly said what has been known behind the scenes. The one space that people generally did agree that libraries were having an impact on consumer sales were your big perennial bestsellers like your James Pattersons. But you go back to 2020 and Macmillan, when he admitted Amazon was the source of a lot of this data. Back then, when I was at Panorama, that's what I was being told off the record by from publishers at a few different of the Big Five, that it was affecting some of their bigger name authors.
Our industry is run by billionaires and conglomerates.
At Microcosm, we wanted the freedom to independently sell our books, easily pay royalties, manage our inventory, and understand our business all in one place.
That's why we've been using our own software since 2001.
Now we want to share it with you.
Working Lit is the only business success software that is created and owned 100% by publishers for publishers.
Join Working Lit and get the agency you need to help your business grow.
Visit workinglit.com to try it for free.
None of them could understand that as shifting consumer preferences. Like, hardcovers are getting more expensive. You guys are putting out a lot of books. And let's be honest, your perennial hardcover bestsellers, particularly in fiction, those are the books that end up on remainder tables and in used bookstores, because people don't actually want to own them. They just want to read them when they're out and they're hot. And now libraries have made that easier to read. Hey, I really want to read that when everybody's talking about it, but I don't want to pay $30. I'm not going to keep it on my shelf.
35, come on.
So, Barnes & Noble $5 discount. I'm giving them that credit.
Okay.
But that's a factor that they have historically just denied. Like, it's not consumer preference, it's libraries, it's the marketing themselves is free. The other fascinating thing that the Authors Guild pointed out as a surprising finding is, oh shit, it's people with money that can afford to buy books that are using the library. It's not just the poors. What is happening? Like, our core beloved target reader is using the library.
And can you imagine, some of the people who read books they check out from the library might recommend them to a friend
or buy them.
So That's my other favorite. Word of mouth. Where the fuck do you think word of mouth comes from? Somebody has to read that book first, and most of your biggest influencers are library readers. Like, come on, connect the dots, do the math.
Yeah.
And so it was fascinating to see the Authors Guild publicly state those two things and still not connect the dots to be like, hey, the killer's in the house. It's not libraries.
Yeah.
Talk to your publisher partners that you never see the Authors Guild come out and say anything positive about libraries. Like the only time they really talk about libraries is to bash them.
We should get them on the pod.
Oh, the AAP
I'd
or
love to watch that one.
The Authors Guild, both of them. I don't know. If you're anyone from the AAP, the Authors Guild is listening, hit us up, podcast at microcosm.pub.
We'll
we
hit
would
you
love
up
to talk.
too. Don't worry.
Come give your perspective. Tell us how Guy is completely wrong and off base, and everybody should hate the library.
Or, or maybe have mixed feelings about it. But so, like, my conspiracy theory about this.
Ooh, this is getting better and better. I love this.
And this is my real conspiracy theory. It's not Amazon or JFK. It's actually that publishers felt the market strain of compressed sales that Amazon created. So I guess it is Amazon's fault. And then that reduced sales through the crowded market. And then that, for some reason, led them to the illogical conclusion that they needed to publish more books to further crowd the shelf, which led in turn to doing that with the same amount of staff, which led to crappier books, which led to fewer word of mouth referrals, which led to people being like, well, that book wasn't that good. But, this book about Birds and Wonder, that was really a great book. Like, you should check that out. But it's impossible to sustain the quality with fewer staff doing more work. And I think that is ultimately what authors are now feeling on top of, and there's maybe like some material market-based forces as well. Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub.
On Twitter at Microcosm.
On Facebook at Microcosm Publishing.
On Instagram at Microcosm_pub.
And here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.